Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel, and the moment my wife said she felt nothing for me, I forgot how to breathe. It wasn't during an argument. It wasn't after a betrayal. It was while I was trying to fix the garbage disposal. She stood behind me in the kitchen, silent, arms crossed, that same strange look she'd been wearing for weeks. I was halfway under the sink with a flashlight in my mouth when she whispered it. "I don't love you, Elwood. I haven't for a long time." I dropped the wrench. I didn't turn around right away. I remember the smell of old pasta water and metal and the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. I thought maybe I misheard. Maybe it was a joke. My wife never joked like that, but maybe this was her way of breaking tension. So I laughed. And she didn't. Instead, she just left the room. No explanation. No apology. Just dropped that sentence into my chest like a live grenade and walked off while I was still holding the pin. That night, I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling while she slept on her side of the bed like nothing had changed. I kept asking myself if I'd missed something. A sign. A moment. Anything. Was it when I forgot her birthday 2 years ago? Was it when she got that new haircut and I didn't notice for 3 days? Was it when I cried in front of her after getting laid off, and she just stood there, arms limp at her sides, like comforting me was optional? I wanted to ask her, when exactly did your love for me expire? But I didn't. I didn't want to sound pathetic, though, truth is, I already was. Over the next few days, I tried everything, cleaning the house top to bottom, surprising her with breakfast, making dinner, putting on the cologne she used to like. Nothing changed. She was polite. Distant. Robotic. Then came the texts. One night, while she was in the shower, her phone lit up on the nightstand. I know, I shouldn't have looked. But I did. A message preview from a contact saved as Nadine. You told him. How did it feel to finally say it? I didn't sleep again that night. And the worst part? I still loved her. Even though she felt nothing for me. I still loved her. But I didn't realize, not yet, that her words would haunt her far more than they ever haunted me. And her breakdown? It was coming. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. She brewed her coffee, checked her emails, and sat across from me at the table as if she hadn't detonated a bomb the night before. I couldn't even swallow my toast. My hands shook as I held the mug. I wanted to ask her what that message meant, what Nadine had said, but I couldn't bring myself to admit I'd looked. That's the sickest part. I was still trying to protect her privacy while bleeding inside. She looked up from her phone. "Are you okay? You look pale." Her voice was flat, casual, like she was asking about the weather. I wanted to scream, "No, I'm not okay. You told me I'm a ghost to you." But all I said was, "Did you mean it?" She paused for a second, just a second, and that second broke me. She didn't answer. Instead, she stood, walked past me, and mumbled, "We'll talk later." But we didn't. I went to work that day and sat in my car for 37 minutes before going inside. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be anywhere. My manager, Doug, noticed something was off. He asked if I was okay, and I said, "Just tired." That was my excuse for everything now, just tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of tiptoeing around someone who didn't love me anymore. Tired of being a man begging for scraps of affection like a stray dog scratching at a locked door. When I got home that evening, the house smelled like lavender, her favorite candle was lit. My heart did something stupid. It hoped. I thought maybe she regretted what she said. Maybe we'd sit down, maybe she'd explain. Maybe we'd start fixing things. I walked into the kitchen and saw 2 plates on the counter. My heart skipped. She never cooked for me anymore. But then I heard the laughter. From outside. She was on the back patio with Nadine. They were drinking wine, laughing like it was just another girls' night. As if my life hadn't collapsed. Nadine saw me first and quickly looked away. My wife turned halfway toward me and gave me the smallest, tightest smile. No words. Just that awkward expression you give someone who's overstayed their welcome in their own story. I went upstairs and locked the door. Sat in the dark with my face in my hands. And for the first time in our marriage, I didn't cry because I was hurt. I cried because I was ashamed of how much I still wanted her. I didn't talk to her the next day. I couldn't. There was nothing left to say that wouldn't come out bitter, broken, or downright pathetic. She, on the other hand, acted like we were in some kind of silent agreement, a nonverbal contract that we just quietly drift through our routines until one of us finally snapped and moved out. The weirdest part? I think she expected me to be the one who left. As if by staying, she was doing me a favor. But I didn't leave. Not yet. I stayed and watched her become someone I didn't know. Someone who avoided eye contact in the hallway. Someone who spent hours scrolling through her phone but wouldn't respond to my texts if I asked if she was okay. Someone who laughed too loudly when Nadine was around, and too little when she was alone. I began to notice details I wish I hadn't, like how she always turned her phone upside down, even when it was locked. Or how she suddenly cared about what she wore on Thursdays, when she never used to. I knew I sounded paranoid. I felt paranoid. But when someone tells you they feel nothing for you, every silence becomes suspicious, every routine becomes a clue. The final punch came on a Sunday night. I was in the laundry room folding clothes, trying to stay busy. She came in, paused in the doorway, and just stared at me like I was a memory she couldn't place. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You're not making this any easier, Merrick." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I had no idea what else to do. I turned to her and asked, "What, exactly, am I supposed to do? Pack your bags for you? Call the moving truck? Help you fall in love with someone else?" She didn't answer. She just walked away. And that night, I finally opened my laptop and started writing a letter. Not to her. To myself. A list of everything I'd lost over the last year, not just in our marriage, but in me. I wrote that I lost my sense of worth, my ability to sleep through the night, my self-respect. I wrote that I missed being looked at like I mattered. That I missed laughter that didn't feel like a lie. And for the first time, I admitted the one thing I'd been avoiding the most: I didn't recognize myself anymore. But that letter never made it to a journal or a drawer. Because something happened the next morning that changed everything. The next morning started like the rest, until I walked into the kitchen and saw her phone sitting on the counter, unlocked. That had never happened before. It was like the universe wanted to see how much more I could take before snapping. I hesitated. I genuinely did. I paced around the table, told myself not to stoop that low. But then I remembered how she told me I wasn't making it easier. And something inside me cracked. I picked it up. I wasn't even looking for proof of cheating. I just needed to understand who she was now. Who I was sharing space with. What I found wasn't an affair. It was worse. A group chat. For names I didn't recognize, all women. And I swear, it felt like reading the script of a secret support group for emotional arsonists. They talked about cleansing seasons, about shedding relationships that no longer served their growth, about how staying in marriages out of guilt was energetic self-sabotage. I wasn't a person to them. I was a concept, dead weight. The part that stuck with me was a message she sent just 2 nights earlier: "He's still here. I think he's hoping I'll come back emotionally. It's sad, honestly. He looks at me like I'm still the same woman. I'm not." I put the phone down. My fingers were shaking. I didn't even hear her walk in. "You read it, didn't you?" she asked, arms crossed. I did, I said quietly. She didn't deny it. Didn't apologize. Just said, now you understand. I needed you to see it from my side. I wanted to yell. To ask her what side that was, the one where you drag someone through months of cold silence while convincing your friends you're some brave soul surviving a loveless life. But I didn't. I just nodded. Because I finally did understand something. I wasn't in a marriage. I was in a one-man performance, clinging to a script she threw away months ago. That evening, I went to the attic and dug out an old duffel bag. I didn't pack it. Not yet. I just set it on the bed where she used to sleep beside me. I needed her to see it. I wanted her to feel a fraction of what I'd been choking on. But I had no idea that she would be the one to break next. I left the duffel bag on the bed like a warning. Not zipped. Not packed. Just sitting there like a thought halfway finished. And for the first time in weeks, she hesitated when she entered the room. She paused in the doorway, glanced at the bag, and asked, "What's that for?" Her voice lacked the usual armor. She wasn't cold, just unsure. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a dramatic answer. I simply said, "I'm deciding." She didn't press. Just stood there longer than necessary, staring at it. Then she left without another word. But something was different. That night, she didn't retreat to the guest room. She got into bed, our bed, and lay on the edge like she was visiting someone else's house. I couldn't sleep. Not with her that close after everything. I kept my back to her, counting the seconds between her breaths, wondering what it meant. Was she scared I'd leave? Guilty? Regretful? Or was it just nostalgia for the comfort of a shared mattress? The next morning, I noticed she had made coffee. 2 cups. Mine sat on the counter like it used to, steam curling softly from the rim. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. I picked it up, took a sip, and nearly laughed. It was the wrong creamer. She hadn't remembered. And yet. I drank the whole thing anyway. But the real shift came that evening. I was sitting outside, trying to breathe without thinking. She came out, barefoot, holding her own cup this time. She sat down on the far end of the porch swing, the same one we built together during our second year in the house, and after a long silence, she finally spoke. I reread what I wrote, in the chat. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon. I sounded, cruel. Detached. I didn't mean for you to ever see that. I waited. No comfort. No reply. Just waited. Then she said, "I've been crying at night. You know that, don't you?" I didn't answer. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to ask why, if she felt nothing, would she cry when she thought I wasn't listening? But I held it in. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were wet, red at the edges. "I don't know when I stopped feeling safe around you. Not because of anything you did, but because I started feeling invisible. And that scared me more than I wanted to admit." It wasn't a full confession. But it wasn't silence either. And just like that, after weeks of being dead inside, she finally blinked. I wanted to believe that her tears meant something, that maybe she had finally begun to see what she was letting go of. But I'd learned to be careful with hope. It was too sharp. Every time I picked it up, I cut myself on the edge. So I sat in silence next to her, nodding slowly, as if her words were rain falling on the roof, familiar, steady, and too late to stop the leak beneath. She tried again the next day. Asked if I wanted to go grocery shopping together. It was such a strange suggestion, like we were pretending we were still us. We hadn't shared a cart in over a year. But I went. I wanted to see what she was really doing. I expected small talk. Instead, she started putting my favorite things in the cart, the weird brand of cereal only I liked, the sauce I once joked I'd take to my grave. I didn't say anything, but I noticed everything. Later that evening, she knocked on the door of the room I'd been sleeping in for weeks. She stood there holding a blanket. "You left this in the dryer." Her voice cracked. "It still smells like you." She placed it on the edge of the bed and stood there awkwardly. I missed that smell. I didn't know how to respond to that. What was I supposed to say? "Thanks for missing the scent of the man you told you felt nothing for." I just looked at her, and for the first time, she looked back like she wasn't sure if I hated her. Maybe she hoped I did. It might have made things easier for her. That night, I woke up around 2 a.m. and heard her crying again. But this time, it wasn't hidden. It wasn't quiet. It echoed through the hallway like a confession she couldn't contain. I walked toward the sound without even thinking. The bathroom door was open. She was sitting on the cold tile floor in her pajamas, hugging her knees, sobbing like the guilt had finally found its way under her skin. She looked up and froze when she saw me. Mascara smeared. Eyes wide. "I didn't mean to destroy us," she whispered. I crouched beside her. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Because for the first time in this whole collapse, she looked more broken than I did. After that night on the bathroom floor, something cracked open between us, but it wasn't trust, not yet. It was something rawer, messier. She started doing things I hadn't seen in months. She texted me in the middle of the day, asking how work was going. She lingered in doorways like she wanted to say more. She even made dinner 2 nights in a row. The food was dry, but the silence between us was softer. Still, I didn't let my guard down. I couldn't. I'd spent too many nights convincing myself not to collapse, too many mornings pretending her indifference didn't tear holes in my chest. And now she wanted to slide back in like nothing happened. Like I hadn't read her words labeling me a ghost of what used to be. But one evening, she did something that left me speechless. She brought out a box I hadn't seen in years, our old memory bin. Ticket stubs, photos, a few letters we used to write each other on anniversaries. She opened it in front of me without a word. Just sat on the floor, cross-legged, and started pulling out pieces of us like a surgeon working through layers of scar tissue. She held up a photo, me holding her on our porch the day we bought the house. We both looked exhausted and stupidly happy. She stared at it for a while, then whispered, "You loved me harder than I ever knew how to handle." Her voice trembled. "And instead of learning to meet you there, I just ran. I didn't say anything. I didn't trust myself to." She set the photo down, and for a second, I saw the woman I married, not the stranger who pulled away night after night, not the one who cried behind closed doors, but her, the one who used to dance barefoot in the kitchen to songs we both hated. "I don't know if I can fix what I broke," she said, "but I want to try." And that should have felt like a victory. But it didn't. Because in her eyes, I saw something I hadn't seen in a long time, fear. Not of losing me, but of having to face who she became when she pushed me away. And now, for the first time, she was the one unsure if I'd stay. I didn't give her an answer that night. Not with words, anyway. I just sat beside her, reached into the box, and pulled out that ridiculous postcard she once gave me from a gas station on a road trip, the one that said, "Wish you were here," even though I was sitting right next to her. She laughed when I handed it to her. It was a soft, broken kind of laugh, the kind that only comes when two people realize they might still have something left worth saving. The weeks that followed weren't magical. There were awkward mornings, heavy silences, and moments when we both wondered if we were faking it just to avoid the final blow. But we kept showing up. That was the difference. We stopped avoiding the wreckage and started cleaning it up, together. She deleted the group chat. I didn't ask her to. She just did it one afternoon while we were folding laundry. Said she was tired of talking to people who encouraged her to walk away without teaching her how to fight for something real. That moment, quiet, simple, meant more to me than any apology could. One evening, while cooking dinner, she asked if I still had the duffel bag I'd placed on the bed all those weeks ago. I told her I had put it away. Good, she said, because I'm not done choosing you. Not yet. And for the first time in a long time, I believed her. We started going on walks again. Grocery shopping became something we did side by side instead of silently. She even started texting me in the middle of the day, not to check on me, but just to say something dumb or sweet. And I replied. Every time. I won't lie and say we're perfect now. We're not. But we're honest. We're working. And every time I see her looking at me like I matter again, I remember how close we came to losing everything. That memory humbles me. It reminds me that sometimes love doesn't die, it just hides beneath layers of hurt, waiting for someone to dig deep enough to find it again. And she cries less now. But when she does, it's not from guilt, it's from gratitude. And so do I. Thanks for watching Reddit Confessions. If you've ever had someone come back after nearly losing you, or if you've forgiven someone who didn't know how to love you right, tell us your story in the comments. And while you're at it, share the name of a historical moment that changed how you see relationships, trust, or second chances. We'd love to hear from you.